Chapter 7 is about chemical reactions. Chapter 6 had a lot of math. Chapter 7 does not have much math. The space shuttle. In the space shuttle, they combine hydrogen molecules and oxygen molecules, and those react violently to form water molecules. And that reaction emits a great deal of energy, and that's what helps propel the space shuttle into outer space, just combining hydrogen and oxygen. So that is an example of a chemical reaction. You may have done one of these volcano things in elementary school sometime. I don't think they actually do them in kindergarten very much. It's more like a fourth grade type project where you mix baking soda and vinegar and maybe put some food coloring in there, and you've made this, elaborate thing out of clay or paper mache or something. You put this container in here, and then you pour the vinegar on the baking soda, and if you've got red food coloring in there, then it's all red and it bubbles up and it runs down the sides, and it's really cool, and then you made a big mess. It's Kindergarten Volcano. That's a reaction, a chemical reaction. In a chemical reaction, which is the same as a chemical change, we have one substance or more being transformed into different substances. And so that kindergarten volcano type reaction is an example of a gas evolution reaction. It bubbles because it's creating carbon dioxide gas. And that's something that if you want to mess around with it at home, that's fairly safe to do. You put baking soda in a bottle and pour some vinegar in there. We used to have some bottles with corks, and you put a cork in there, and then the CO2 pressure would build up and the cork would go flying out. Could be fun. Don't point it at your face. There are chemical reactions happening in your car when you're driving it. Hydrocarbons in your gasoline, one of them is octane. There's a whole bunch of different compounds in your gasoline. Are burning, they're reacting with oxygen in the air. They're also forming carbon dioxide and water. And that generates a lot of energy, which causes your car to move. And those are called combustion reactions. That's a subcategory of oxidation reduction reactions, which we're going to talk about. But here's a picture of what's happening. Here we have octane reacting with oxygen. And again, you can think of these as being like, Tinker Toys or Lego blocks or something. And you can separate the black and the white balls and the red balls, and you can put them together in different ways. The atoms, the individual building blocks, do not get changed, but they get rearranged, and they form other compounds. Carbon dioxide and water have very different properties than gasoline and oxygen do. Gasoline's very flammable. Oxygen's very flammable. Carbon dioxide and water are not flammable at all. They have very different properties. It's a chemical reaction. We've rearranged the atoms. We've changed the substances. Another chemical reaction that happens in your home is a reaction between laundry detergent and hard water. So the reason you want to use laundry detergent instead of soap to clean your clothes is that the soap reacts more with the hard water. Hard water has calcium and magnesium ions, and they form a precipitate, and you get this grayish gunk that deposits on your clothing. That's also where that white scaly stuff, well actually we've got some right here, we get this white crusty stuff, right? Like over here where the faucet's been dripping. What is that stuff? Well, that's a reaction between soap and water causes that, and also just the water evaporating and leaving behind the ions and the other things. But that stuff does not dissolve well in water, and it's difficult to wash off. So didn't want to do that. This illustration here is showing us when you mix soap with pure water, it forms suds and dissolves nicely and works really well. But if you put soap in hard water, it doesn't get very sudsy. It doesn't seem to be very soapy. You see it's kind of grayish. They can't see my facial expressions on that. So laundry detergents often have substances like sodium carbonate in them. The sodium carbonate is going to react with the calcium and the magnesium ions and basically precipitate those things out. Calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate are not going to be soluble in water, so they're going to precipitate out. And so having the sodium carbonate in the detergent essentially is softening your water in the washing machine. And that's why laundry detergents are going to work better than soap. Those are called precipitation reactions. So this whole section is just kind of an overview, a preview of what we're going to talk about in this chapter.